Okay. Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Just I'm going to start just by running through the like two easy steps to validate, and then we'll go back to kind of what you have to look at first. But really, validation, all it takes is after you've made your decisions, which are the decisions on the business lines and then the decisions on the corporate, those two groups of decisions, then you just go over here to validate, click validate, and it will come up and well,
Oh,
this
wait, can
one,
you go back real quick? I'm sorry.
oh, sure. Let me, where did I go? All right, we'll go back to decision.
Okay.
Let's see, let me go back to business lines here where we make our decisions. All right. So yeah, up on the far right here, it says validate.
Okay. Oh, I think that's why my camera thing is there. I see it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. So that you just when you just click on validate, it gives you that option and you just say, yes, I can't do it now because it'll it'll actually
Yeah,
do
yeah.
it. It'll actually do it. But that's all you do is you say, yes, are you ready? And it'll say yes. But before you do that, let me go back to the business lines and let's see if I can go back to the landing page. We'll go back to the dashboard. So when you first sign on, this is what you see your dashboard. I've got a
Yeah.
different, I don't have yellow. I've got an older team that's got like 5 decisions in already, so I can show you what happens a little later with the decisions. But the first thing you look at, you can see all across the bottom here these are the 6 big indicators of how you're doing. And
Mm-hmm.
you can just look at each one of those, see how you are. This is a later decision. But one thing you always have to look at is down here. You'll see this is that one, this is that one, and this is that one. The business lines, the gas price index is way up to $3 here. So image line by this decision, this is their last decision, their fifth in this universe. Anybody who's in image now is having a lot of problems. And
Yeah.
that's because the gas prices have gone way up. So the thing about image is you need to kind of do it before you have to do the image early on, and then the image in the family is kind of your cash cows, and then move towards low cost and eco towards the end of the sim. So let's see if I can find. So we start with our decision. We start with our business lines, and let me move our pictures out of the way here. Um, there's two things right away. You can see that there's all the lines here, and
Yeah.
decisions have to be made for each one. And then you've also got the value proposition, the chain, and the budget. So those are kind of the 7 things you have to make the decisions on with these sliders. And there's also 2 down here, decision and perception. Perception is just what you pick compared to what is happening with the market. And you won't have a white market line yet because there's no market response yet. But
Mm-hmm.
you'll see that successful teams follow the white market line after the first decision, but you can't know where it's going next. It's a lagging indicator. So you have
Yeah.
to kind of say, I think it's going to go there, there, and there, and then you keep following. But you can also follow it kind of after the fact, and you can see this is what is this low cost? Yeah, this is low cost. You can see that th this they kind of kept the slider somewhat in the middle, and that's what you have to be careful of. Don't go way over like to a 9 on something, or it's going to cost an awful lot. The capex will go way up unless you're going up on something that's really good for that line, like robustness. That means it lasts for a long time. It doesn't
Right.
break easily, and they went to I think a 6 from a 4 here. So and number of models usually anywhere from 3 to 5. Novelty, any one of these that you go up on is going to change your budget, which is what you see in the value chain and then the budget. As you move them, you'll see, what happened to the budget and what happened to your capex. So if you watch the capex line here, and I'm on 3 now, and I start moving my number of models up, wow, see the
Oh,
capex
yeah.
shot way up. So that's what happens as you make these decisions. You can see the cost of doing that. And you have to have CapEx because you have to make the models that you're doing. But the easiest thing on the first decision, now you won't have a white market line because you haven't even started yet, so there's no response from the market or your competitors yet. But you can see even that was perception, which is the lighter line, and it
Mm-hmm.
shows the reason you do perception. You can take screenshots as you go forward of the white line to see where it's going and see how you did over the whole sim. But perception doesn't change any budgets. It's just here's how I think the customers really respond to more design or less design. Okay. So
Okay.
it generally follows that, but the decisions are here. That's the important thing. So you just go through each line, low cost, and then you do family, and you can see there's some differences here, although robustness is good. Number of models, novelty is a little higher. But if you go to image, which they blew here, they spent way too much and went low on cash. You can see, look how high all these are, because image takes a lot of engineering appeal to do well. But then
Mm-hmm.
if you go to budget, you know, low cost is like $40. You'll see
Mm-hmm.
the price here under budget, they've got like $120. Now that can go as high as 140, but it's, you know, it's, you know, 3 times as much as the $40 low cost is on the price. So just make sure that after you do the sliders for engineering and marketing, you go over here to budget and you fill out your budget. You got to have a price for the car. There's some people that start the sim and they don't even price the car, and all of a sudden they have zero sales. It's like, oh, there was, you know, because that was on zero and they didn't price it.
Yeah.
So you got to price your car. But so as you go through each one of these lines, then you go through first the value proposition on the sliders, then on the value chain, it connects you to what the budget is and what happens to your capex and cost per unit, and then in marketing also. And as you put more novelty in, you'll find like the failure rate was low, but then became high because they did a lot more novelty. You can see that increases, and so does your capex. Now there's some, you can just go back and forth and try some of these as you're doing to see the sensitivity.
Okay.
All the cheat sheets tell you that, you know, and the students and all that, you'll learn this through, you don't have to know it the first time, but it'll
Mm-hmm.
show you that, you know, family cares a lot about dealership proximity, whereas image doesn't. So you can see this is way down here. And then if you go up to like family, and then you go down to dealership proximity, look at that,
Oh,
much
yeah.
higher. See, so they've learned, this is like 5 decisions. This is their last decision. So they've learned what each one of them like and what is it sensitive to. But you also have to kind of, when you make these decisions, look at CapEx, go back to budget, and especially go back to corporate. Let's see if I can get up here. Go back to decision and corporate, and then go down to the far bottom and say, okay, I spent all that in image. How's my cash? Oh my gosh, I'm $2,000 underwater in cash. I just moved a bunch of sliders up to show you this.
Uh-huh.
This will not validate. You try to validate, it'll say, sorry, we can't validate. It won't tell you why, but this says must be greater than zero here. So now you saw that I gave you each a $2,000 loan. That's how we start to make sure we don't go underwater. But
Okay.
this number here, 19,018.999 means they got a government loan. They actually went underwater with cash because they spent too much on image. And what happened when they did that is, let's see here. This is actually the results of that last decision. You can see we were looking at red. They're doing
Mm-hmm.
fantastic in low cost, not too bad in family. This is late in the game, so family had lots of money, and then they sort of dropped off of it because it started losing money and losing growth. And but they just got killed in image. All the teams got killed in image because they spent a lot on it, and then the gas prices went up, and they didn't back off in time, so they kind of got trapped on here. But they still, red still came in number one, did fantastic. That's just a matter of you know, what happened with it compared to what the market was doing, the customer response. So
So would you suggest like image, we just kind of start conservatively with
yes, yeah.
Okay.
In fact, that's a great idea because let's say you want one of your people that runs the image says, I want to make a fantastic race car. But if you start right away with image and you load up like all this heavy design and stuff right away, consumption, okay, that's consumption. It's a gas guzzler. Well, you need that in image. You know, that's a good thing. But if you
Mm-hmm.
spend too much, then you've got to really watch your EBIT every time you do these lines and you look at the value change in the budget. You got to watch what's happening with your total spend in marketing, and then go back to corporate and look at your cash and make sure that there's still cash will help so you don't go under. Make sure none of these sliders are at zero. And then I've already done the loans, so you should be okay on the loans. But you can also kind of, every time you do a slider and you see what's happening, look at the market line, look at the response. You can
Mm-hmm.
also kind of look at what happened with the unit cost production inventory and all that. Where everyone makes a mistake is they do all this fantastic stuff, but they forget to look at what it did to EBIT. Now it's like, wait a minute. If I need a stronger EBIT here and I spent all this money on marketing, I don't back off, you can see that dropped, and so did that on the future forecast EBIT. But one of the important goals is to try to get this EBIT positive, for each of the lines. Now, in image, that's going to be very, very hard because this is at the end of this particular sim. But let me think, what did they do well in? Let me go to red on low cost. Let's go to red and let's look at low cost. Let's go to their decisions, go to the business lines, and let's look at, there's low cost. And now let's look at budget here. We're on low cost budget and nice, strong, positive EBIT here. So they did well.
Yeah.
So you can see as they changed that, they didn't go too crazy on novelty, which is going to throw the CapEx way up. And they didn't, if you do too much on the wrong line, like you're adding all kinds of features to low cost, it's not going to respond. You're not going to get the sales. So early on, you have to do all four, but concentrate on family and image because that's your cash cows. And that one, then you'll over 2 or 3 decisions, you'll move over to low cost and eco. A lot of teams make the mistake of saying we're going to be the best, most eco-friendly. Well, they're not the growth. That's a star and a question mark to start with, and you need to get the money out of image and family first. So, but that's basically, once you have all those, that's not zero. Cash is positive, and all the sliders are there, and you have your budget set, and you set your prices. And you've looked at the sliders under both value chain and proposition. It's if you want, you can do perception, but you don't have to. You won't see all this cool stuff, but you can see how all the teams really try to match the market line. It looks easy towards the end because it's smart to do that because you don't get in trouble by keeping an eye on that. But what's hard to do is say, it's all lagging. It's like, where is this going to go because of competition and customer? If you get this right, you're going to be real close to it anyway. But if you get this wrong, then you got to try a few things. Say, I'm going to back up on comfort, go up on performance because performance is important for image. I'm going to back off on comfort. Comfort's important for family, but not for low cost. So and stay close to the middle. Don't jump up to 9 on anything, and don't go back to 1. Stay around 3 to 5. Now you may want 7 for something that's really, really important, like, fuel economy or something like eco-friendly. You want that low on eco. I'm not sure where they went with this. Let's see. I think they did okay on eco. Let's see. Right. So they went, the more consumption you have, the less miles per gallon you have. This is better consumption. It doesn't mean you're using more gas. It means, so, but that consumption is one of the most expensive in CapEx. So if you looked at the cost of what happened in consumption, you can see that really jumps up, and you say, hey, I'm going to have to do consumption. This is the last 2. And they did more consumption to make this line a much more eco-friendly, but then it cost them in CapEx.
Okay. So we should probably keep that between 3 and 5 too, right?
Right. Yeah, you can go as high as 7 as you move into the sim, and you have something that's really, really important, like design and image to begin with, or the dealerships and family. But now that's the first part of the whole sim, is all that demand stuff and making sure the cash go to corporate and make sure your corporate budget is positive, all that good stuff. Then the next thing you want to do is you have to go to the corporate budget and make sure your CapEx numbers that you changed in your facility investment, that you have the production in the facility investment to be able to make the cars that you're selling. Now, the minimum is 30 units. So you'll see it says the next CapEx per unit. This must not be image. This is low cost or something. What are we here? Oh, no, low cost. I was looking at. Where's family? Let me see. Okay, image is down here. So you can see, obviously, this is towards the last, I'm kind of giving some away here, but you can see that the facility investment is higher the more expensive the car is. You have to spend more money on the CapEx than that to engineer it. And then it shows you the capacity next period. What some people don't do is they get the orders, but not the sales, not the deliveries. And you'll see lost orders over inventory will tell you, oh my gosh, we didn't make enough of these. So now it's complex, but if you go on biz485.com and go to this link, which is capacities, gears, hints, and sliders, it tells you exactly how to match your CapEx and your inventory for your facility investment. And there's a lot of subtleties to this, and it'll take several decisions to really get it, but this is a formula you need all the time. So when you start out, there's not going to be any, the capacity is going to be the same. It's going to be 110 per unit. That must be like family. But, it'll be like, CapEx will be like maybe 40 or something for the lower, and then maybe 150 for image. But anyway, what it costs per unit to have a, is just PPE. Like land and property and plant and equipment, which is your CapEx per unit. But this shows you how to set your capacity for the facility investment. Because we had a team more late in the sim that said, hey, how come my inventory is dropping, but I still have capacity? It's like, because capacity is the ability to make it. It's not the inventory. It's made the next period, but it happens the next period. So this is the most important formula in the whole sim in terms of figuring out how much should we make. And if you don't make enough, you'll see in lost orders over inventory that you have a whole bunch of inventory, but you're not getting the orders and sales because you didn't make enough of them that time. And that's, you'll see in the budget. But you have to you have to look at the forecast. How many are we going to make? 70, 60, 50. And it's not going to be 500. It's going to be somewhere between, 30 and 50, depending on the line and what you're spending on it. But this just first period, it's simple because it's just this is a formula. It's, you're not even looking at a forecast from the last one to this one to period 4 because it was just 110. So all it is depreciation here. You didn't have any CapEx multiplied by what you want to make. So, but then the next period, it's kind of the difference. If they should have made this 100, then it'd be 100. So it'd be 100 times 75, which is 7,500 plus 600 for the depreciation. So it'd be about 8,000. If you're going to be making that many at that expensive a kit, but usually you're going to make 20 cars with, $30, so, 300, 3,000, 1,000, 2,000 for the total plant facility investment for your capacity. So that's what you enter into the box then as you do this formula. But it doesn't really matter. You don't have zero there. When you're doing the facility investment, make sure you put some investment in there so you can make some cars. And so it's not like, wow, I got so many sales and marketing, but I didn't make any vehicles, so definitely don't want to do that. But so that's kind of just the basic of how do you validate. And it's not really, it's not really that difficult once you've done all the sliders just to go ahead and validate based on
So when
sliders.
after we decide, because as a group, we go through our own individual lines and do that, correct?
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, you decide that, but you don't all have to do this. You don't have to each do a whole bunch of sliders and then get together and say, okay, we're all done. The sliders done. You can talk together and say, let's just run over all 4 sliders together and tell us. Each person can say, here's why I did this, this, and this, and this. But then as a group, you got to say, well, wait a minute, we're going to have to back off of something. And usually the poor image person, it's like, yeah, I think we're going to have to back off an image because you're spending so much we're not cash positive. And or JENN can't validate, it's like everything else is up, but it's not, you have to be cash positive. And I did put the $2,000 loan, but that's only available next period. So you still need to do it here. Let me see yellow team here. Now we're at the real you. Okay. This is the real you. So this is a real actually yellow team. And what you'll see is under these business lines, like we just looked at, whoa, there's nothing. All there is the everything is for all the teams are set at 4, and they're all, well, except for they want some novelty, but in marketing is also, set at 1 or 2 just to make sure it doesn't be at 0, so it'll still validate. But the only separation of these lines here are the difference between perception and
But this isn't our yellow group, is it?
this is your yellow group
Oh, okay.
because you've done nothing on it yet, and there's no
Yeah.
white line because this is decision 1.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
everything is complete, but it's got the same all things you look at, but everything is set to kind of what the default is, and they're all the same. You haven't gone up or down. They don't let you know what it is, but they have initial things set like $40 for the price for low cost, 120, I think it is for image. Yeah. And then now this one though, you do the same thing, two decisions, and you get to look at corporate, look at the budget. Let's see, period, cost of goods sold. Oh, okay. It's taking you that. Now see down here, it's ready to go, which I certainly won't touch, but you get down there and you make sure that your cache is okay and everything's the same. And then you get to this validate page and then you say, send your decision. That's all you do, Friday night, Saturday morning. And I'm going
Okay.
to get off of this because I do not want to mess you up here. Can't take it back if we actually validate it.
Okay.
Okay, we're back. So back to the business lines now. So let's go to corporate. And you've already been there because I know you saw what they were doing. Let's go down to the very bottom here. And yes, so you can see now you've got $6,000 or $6 million or 600,000 euros, whatever it is. You got six somethings to spend in cash. So this is where we just keep coming back here. And your loan's all there, so just leave it there. And all the teams have that already. But keep cycling back here and checking this as a validator to say, guys, I can't do this if this is below zero. And you'd be surprised what happens because whenever it does their own card lines and you get back there, and suddenly it's like you come back here and it's like this is negative $2,000. Then it's like, oops, I have got to go back and we've got to de-engineer a few things. But if you're staying here 4 and 5 and you're not doing a lot of nines, you should still be okay. But just be careful of the price. You'll see your competitors' prices, what they did, and all kinds of cool stuff. You'll see what the market said. The market said, no, I don't want this particular feature and image. I mean, you'll have a lot of feedback for decision too. Decisions 1 and 5 of the 5 are really easy, frankly, to be straight with you, because one, you don't have any input. All you
Right.
you got no feedback from customers or your competitors. So you're doing the best you can do to match what you know in the value proposition to what you think your customers might want. And you can't know that. There's a cheat sheet, what have you, but every universe is different. So they have a little bit different wants and needs. But the general idea is to teach portfolio management and strategy, which is this course of strategy, is start out with the high lines that are doing really well with growth, but are also mature like family and image, and then ease into the low cost and eco. They'll be great towards the last few decisions, but you still need to invest and do some in them at the beginning. But the biggest mistake you can do is run out of cash by putting a huge amount of money in eco and say we're going to be the most eco-friendly and we're going to have really good emissions. And then what happens is you get a huge amount of sales and you got a ton of little eco cars out there, and emissions are terrible because you got so many out there.
Yeah.
You got 1,000, but they're all polluting less, but still it's more general pollution. So yeah, so just stay moderate, keep the changes small. In fact,
Okay.
I had a validator, it's just a sweet man. We went through this whole thing. And so I said, now remember, small changes, but he said, yeah, I know the sliders, all that, but he forgot about, and they doubled their price and got no orders. I said, small changes? You went from like 120 to 250 for an image. Why did you do that? I said, small changes. He goes, oh, coach, I didn't know you meant price too. Yeah. I said, yeah, I mean, everything. Don't go too big. This is like flying a helicopter or a jet. You have to be little micro movements on it. You go, wow,
Yeah.
it's going to go. So
Can you
anyway.
go back to where you were in the decision for the business lines, the budget? The
Oh, business line, sure.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so get out of corporate. Here's our business
And then go
line.
to the budget down there.
For which car line?
Yeah, for let's say image.
Okay, we'll go. That's going to be a really expensive budget. Okay, there's your budget for image. And
So
so, yeah,
do we change this in here? Or
you
the line
can, you
or
can
did the lines change it when we move the
both,
slider?
both.
Where
You
it
can
says
both.
like 120?
Yeah, you can change that. I'm not going to, but yeah, you can type that in, make that
Okay.
130 or 100 or whatever. Yeah, you can change the price on it. What doesn't change is, or what changes with the sliders are, you see white boxes that changes and these boxes that don't, because you can add volumes to the more yellow lines, or the yellow boxes. But you'll see the automatic changes. I should be on the other one because I don't want to mess you up. But
Okay.
and family would show that. But as you slide these, you can go down and see how it's changing the budget. The numbers change, and you'll see
Okay.
what's changed and which don't. But certainly engineering changes. and really the thing to watch is, gotta watch your EBIT. I mean, you're starting here with positive EBIT, which is like amazing. It's like you're inheriting a turnaround. This is really a turnaround company. So
Mhm.
if you look at, like, let's look at ARE. Look at that, the current ARE. You're so far underwater. It's
Mhm.
like, it's like Walmart buying Sam's Club and then saying we can't turn it around. ARE
Mhm.
never gets turned around. But Rose, which is my favorite, I have my Rose hat. Look at Rose or Rose. That's not too bad. You could actually get positive Rose or Rose, as the French say. Uh,
Mhm.
Return on capital employed by employing the capital good on production, getting good revenues, and that, and then everything goes up. And don't spend a lot on HR to try to get your morale up, because morale, I mean, don't like pay them nothing, pay your workers,
Yeah.
but a lot of teams go, oh, we're going to get great morale. Morale comes from how well you do. They want to
Yeah.
go to the out and get a beer or a Coke together and say, hey, my sister's going to buy one of these cars. I love it. We did so good, and etc. So they take pride in their ownership. So it's really geared to say, if we're doing well as a company, you're going to have a lot of good morale. If we're tanking, we're not going to do as well. But
Yeah.
um, revenue, of course, it's everybody's set the same because everybody's in first to start with, and all the lines are the same. So everybody's at an equal place. Same thing with emissions. They're all right around the 120s, and it'll get better or worse just depending on whether you choose a lot of image out there or a lot of eco and how that portfolio works. But but what you said earlier was really important, that, you know, take your time gradually to build up a line. If you want, like, people get emotionally involved, and it's fun actually, but it's like, I had one friend, Amber, and she loved her race car, and she just kept putting more and more stuff into the race car, but it kind of crashed and burned a little bit, because in one period you shouldn't try to do it all. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
let's do this and this decision one, and maybe a little more on two, and then finish it off on three. And then by three, four, and five, you've kind of exhausted. You got a ton of revenue. You're doing really great. You're following the market line. And the white market line is your friend. What happens is nobody really crashes and burns. And if they do, I'm with them saying, get back to the white line. And so I'll
Yeah.
just tell you up front, just get get back to the average of the market, and you're not going to crash and burn. You'll do fine. In fact, that's what's fun about it, that there's sometimes we have 7 teams. I love 3 myself, but 7 gets so competitive, and there's everybody's so close. It's like 1 point away, because they're like, okay, we're all going to follow the market line.
Right.
So, but the hard part, where you got to do a lot of finance and a lot of number crunching and looking at it, and the accounting in that, is really looking at your ratios of production. And I guess I could just show you, let's see, how to ace the sim. That's got a lot of slides in it, but I don't know if I have an LOI in here. Yeah, this is showing you the lost orders over inventory. If you have a whole bunch of orders, but not a lot of sales because you didn't do the production, or not a lot of deliveries, which are called sales here, this
Mhm.
gap here are all lost orders. You got all these orders, but you couldn't fulfill them because your sales line, you didn't produce enough. Same thing if you did the other way around, where you're building inventory, then the LOI goes up towards inventory. That's it. This is fun. This is my absolute favorite, and I'll be doing this every sim, every run. It's great. The zero line is our goal. The closer you come to the zero line, you have no inventory building here, and you have no lost orders going down here. So you can see now, this got thrown off because of some actions that Red made for the whole universe. But towards the end, everybody's getting closer to zero. In fact, some teams, there's like all 3 or 4 that are so tight on that LOI, and this is only 2 decisions, but there's 5, that they're right down the zero line, 3 of the 5, or maybe 4 of the 5, or maybe 2 of the 3. And that's because you learn through the School of Hard Knocks that if you don't produce enough, and anytime you have a ratio, the bottom's the top. So if this is lost order over inventory, then it's the other way around. This is the inventory up here, and that's the lost orders. Just the way that denominators work when you do a graph and you have a zero index. So as this drops down, you're having more and more lost orders in that gap between orders and sales. As this goes up, you're building inventory because you didn't, market it enough. So this is not enough marketing, and you're building inventory. This is too much marketing, but not enough production. and you're selling a lot or you're getting a lot of orders, but you're not being able to deliver them. So this is so important. It does all of the different indicators because the better you closer you get to zero by matching supply and demand, the more those revenues count in that marketing, those marketing dollars count. They're put to work and you're just, you create a flywheel and you're rocking and rolling. So
Okay. So
anyway.
after this first decision, it becomes more, because we were all like, oh, 'cause it's kind of, so is it normal? Because like, I know we're all kind of a little confused and we just want to make sure we do the first decision right. Is once you do the first one, then you kind of get the hang of it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, you're be very expert by decision five because you've made so many mistakes and you never forget it once you make a mistake. And
Okay.
it's fun. Everybody does because every team makes some mistakes. But yeah, you get the right away you start to figure out because you got the white market line to help you out. And it's like what you learn about all this and business is that if you follow the line, the white market line, you're getting a lot of exhaust. If you
Mhm.
lead it, if you're ahead of it, you're getting air, you're not there. So innovation has to be close to where the market's going. You're trying to meet the trend, not be behind it or ahead of it. Even if you're really
Okay.
innovative and you're way ahead, you could get an innovator penalty because the demand hasn't caught up to what you just this great new thing that you created, you know? So
Yeah.
you try to guess the trend of the market. You say, we're going towards this way in image, or this is going to drop. Gas price just went up. A lot of teams don't even look at the gas price, you know, but that's the first thing you should look at. It's like, wow, that's way up. We
Mhm.
better be careful with image because that line's going to drop down. So let's defeature that or make it a little more less, you know, gas consuming on our sliders. But that's where you transition then. But yeah, you get better and better at it because you just know what the competitors are going to do. You have an idea and you can kind of decode like Sherlock Holmes. It's like, oh, and you get their financials too because we're
Yeah.
publicly traded. So I make everybody can look at everybody else. And at the end of every decision, I send you a huge amount of data, all this stuff. You get all the financials, you get all the trends, you get like 40, 50 results, including what happened, what were some of the sliders that were wrong, all that good stuff.
Okay.
This helps you with your decision, the next decision to look at that. But the secret is I'm building you up for your presentation and for all the rest of the papers and assignments because you can just grab this stuff and use it. And everybody
Mm-hmm.
see they're working and they're in school and it's like, you know, everybody's really busy. So make the assignments work and still do a sim and still talk to your teams. We all try to make it a lot easier to get the discussion questions done, to get the participation done, and the assignments. So all this good stuff that you get at the end of every run, you reuse in your slides for your presentations. When you have a paper, you can use all these graphics. You don't have to do APA citations in this class and say, you know, so-and-so said this, so I'm quoting. It's like, no, show the sim, quote your teammates. You know, it's really all about what you've learned in the sim. And at the end, you know, when you get to week 8, it's like tell me what went right and wrong. Like you're presenting to your board. I don't want a 50-page paper. Do 5 slides, pull them from here and say, here's what we learned. Boy, we made this mistake. And boy, did we ever do good in emissions this time because we decided to do such and such. So it's admitting the mistakes and saying, you know, hey, we tried this wasn't right, but here's how we corrected it next time. And, you know, that's what all these results are for. It helps you say, oh, goodness, look, we did fantastic in our family line, but boy, did we ever kind of crater an image here. But oh my gosh, what did Blue do? How the heck did they do so well on a really tough line like image? And then you go back and say, oh my gosh, look what they did on their sliders compared to what we did. And look at the
Mm-hmm.
market line. So while you get to decision 3, 4, and 5, you're really going to love that white market line because you're seeing what's going on. You're following what the competitors are doing. And I mean, frankly, I don't think the government's listening, but um, there is co-opetition. You can say when you've got 4 car lines and 3 teams, you can specialize. And it's like the worst thing you can do to the whole universe is get a bunch of inventory built up, drop your price real low and destroy the whole market. It's like, oh, we did good. We sold all this inventory, but now everybody has to have low prices and our EBIT's all dead. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, be gentle people and say, I'm not going to take my price so low to try to do lots of sales because it's going to destroy everybody's EBITs. We're going to kind of stay moderate close to that. And it's not really collusion. It's like how the real auto industry does. You see how they price. There's not a lot of big sims. They're not calling each other on the phone and going to jail, but they're watching the prices and looking at what's happening and matching it, just like we do on the market lines. So
Okay. All
anyway,
right,
so
perfect.
that's
Well, I
that's all there is
appreciate you
to
going,
it.
yeah, I appreciate you going over this. So once we send the decision, that's it for the week, right? Until,
Right, right. Once you validate, when you've got all those decisions made and you click validate, are you sure you want to? And you say yes, each of the teams then come to me and it says done, decisions made. And so I have a whole bunch of work to do generating all those graphics and stuff. And that only takes a day because it's like Friday by Friday night, usually everyone, some people are done by Thursday, even at later decisions. They get easier and easier. I mean, some people meet on Monday and Tuesday and they're already done by Wednesday and say, okay, we validated, because it just becomes so easy because everybody knows their lines. But at first it takes a little more. But then
yeah,
by Friday, the deadline is on the sim is Saturday at noon, which is fine if someone has to go to Saturday. But then I take from noon Saturday all the way through all day Sunday. I work on all the graphics, and then by Sunday at the end of that unit, all of your cool results and graphics are up for the rest of the next decision the next week, but also for papers, discussions, PPPs, and I put all kinds of things out there to say just respond to this and you get participation, because I don't want folks go. And that we told there's like 30 instructors across the world, France, everywhere else, and we're telling everybody, look at this idea. It was a brilliant idea. Screen
yeah,
shoot the white line, and then by decision 3 or 4, look at the trend of the white line over the last 3 decisions, which we don't. That's not saved now. In
yeah,
fact, our course lead, Professor Waterman, is screen shoot it. And
yeah,
shoot that white line, because you can help your whole team and say, look, this is where it went this time and this time. That trend looks like it's going to the right and up, and then you just say, well, why would it? And oh, it is because the gas prices went up and this is low cost and it's starting to come into its own. It's starting to sell now. So, you'll see where it's going to go, and then you can make a guess at it and say, let's match a little bit above where we think this white line is going to go. But you can always correct it next time. If it's like, well, we
yeah.
missed that a little, let's move back down there. So, and
Okay.
that's what's nice. The sliders move it as you move. You can see where it's going, which really helps.
Right. And then one more question. So after we send in the decision, do we post in our CLC group that we're done, or do you want us?
And no, the only thing the CLC group is for in this class is your annex. So all
Okay.
you do is you post the annex there, and it can be, it can be at the beginning. There's 3 different annexes,
Yeah.
NSC, whatever the plural is. The first one is just, if you have the sliders, and that's a 7, that's a 6, that's a 5, that's a 3, you just fill that all in on annex 1, and then drop that in the box on the CLC. Now you can use the
Okay.
chat and talk to each other on CLC if you want, but the real CLC happens in the Harbor Sim here. So there's not a lot of work. There's some papers you got to drop in there. The peer reviews, when you get to that, each of you have to do one and drop it in. So there's some things that are team and group, but they're also individual. The peer
Okay.
reviews are totally your option as a team. I don't get involved in that at all. You can either be secret ballot, rate each other, and then just drop in the box, and I don't talk to anybody about it. I just rate it the way you rated it. Or you can say, let's all meet as a team and talk about, you didn't do so well on this, you should get this, you didn't do that, like a team would, and then do
Yeah.
it up in the open. Or if you want, you can also cheat it. We put in there so that if you want to cheat the peer review, you can, and you can top rate everybody and get 90 points for each of them. And
Yeah.
that's just, if you all love each other, you've done great. But I've got adults here and they're ethical. And if somebody didn't show up for any of the meetings and they didn't help or whatever, they're not going to rate everybody the same. They're going to say, you didn't show, and when you had a car line, we had a backfill, sorry, whatever happened, sorry, but you can't get full points.
Wrote that down a couple times, so got that one.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for all your time, your hard work. I
Meeting
appreciate it.
at
And
6:30.
oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
Oh
we're
gosh, you're
gonna,
ready. I better let you go.
but yeah, it'll be good. Thank you. I appreciate you going over this with me.
Yeah, well, I'll get it edited down, recorded. So if nobody will probably watch it because they're so busy getting ready for the decision, but you got a good start on it, and just keep your eye on that white market line, and by decision 2 and 3, you'll say, why was I worried?
Yeah. Okay.
All
Perfect.
righty.
All
Thank you,
right. Thank you so
Jen.
much. Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.